Wirecast.
And we are live. It is Thursday night. It is the 6th of February. It is 3 years since VapingTrails.tv did its first broadcast. February the 6th, 2011. That's right in itself.
Yep, 3 years. Wow.
This is a demonstration of
Some of the train robbers didn't get that, you know.
I know. I only meant to be here for one show.
That's true. You were a stand-in for your mum, weren't you?
Yep.
See? There you go. With your
That
flash
worked well.
flash hair.
I know, look what I've turned into.
I know. She's become a diva, a goddess.
I prefer Diva. I like Diva. Diva's good.
Diva's good, is it?
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. Yes, tonight I'm kind of excited
of Wirecast.
in many ways because 3 years on, everything's changed. 3 years ago, we were working with webcams. Skype was not as buggy as it is now.
No, Skype was great.
Skype was great, but we didn't have the bandwidth to do Skype meetings. 3 years down the road, and tonight I am joined not only by the effervescent loveliness and bountiful beautiliciousness that is the one and only bountiful Sav.
This is a
Look at this smile. Look at that little smile on her face. That nice.
I'm speechless.
But I am also joined by a southern belle. Ding dong. It's Sarah. How are you doing, Sarah?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Joined us after you've been on recording for the telly as well.
Yeah, the BBC, yes. Struggled through the tube strike.
Oh,
And,
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. Yeah, chaos, complete chaos.
Of Wirecast.
Yes, indeed, I suppose it is. So that is the lineup. Now, everybody will be sitting in chat and on video on demand going, but he said Clive Bates was on. He is. He is. Fret ye not, sweat ye not. Clive will be along in the middle third. There shall be no problem with that. So your team for tonight is yours truly, Dave Dawn. Johnny Lavery calls me a leg end.
Does he?
Yeah.
This is a demonstration of
Dave Dawn,
Wirecast.
vaping leg end. That's what he says, isn't it? Was that good?
That sounds like him.
Yes. So, joined by Sarah, and joined by Sav, and by the rest of the team in the back room, as it were, helping Sav out with chat because we've got the best chat on the planet. And we're going to get into this. This is called VT Talk, and I hope you enjoy it. Then this happened.
Happily though, after many hours of tedious pursuit,
Weaving.
James finally made a mistake.
Weaving.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you spy it? Could you see it from there, Sarah?
No.
It was the hamster, Hammond. What's his first name?
Richard.
Ah, that's it, Dick. Richard Hammond sat with his 70s porn tash on and his e-cig sat in his top pocket. If you blinked, you might have missed it. I'll play it again.
Happily though, after many hours of tedious pursuit,
Weaving.
This is a demonstration of
Weaving.
Wirecast.
James finally made a mistake.
Weaving.
Yeah, no. Did you spy? That wasn't a lucky likey either, was it?
No, that definitely wasn't. It looks like something like a mini pro tank or something along those lines.
It definitely had a curvaceous top, and I couldn't quite get the colour of the mouthpiece, but it certainly was refillable, and I suspect over 2 millilitres.
Yeah.
That was on the Beeb on Top Gear. I suspect we're going to see more of that.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
You've got a smile all over your face, Sav. What's going on?
They're just trying to guess what it is in chat, and they're saying, well, it's great for first exposure on the BBC, and they're trying to guess, is it a Pro Tank, is it a Kanga, could be a CE, but it's definitely over 2 mils by the looks of it. That's probably why he was being pulled over, says Silver Zero.
Do we need to have another look at it so the people can have another guess? I don't know if I can. I doubt I'll be able to slow it down. We'll have one more look, and I might just play it in as we could use it as a sting. We'll use it as a sting. But here we go. Here's Richard Hammond in his e-cig. See if you can spot what it is.
Happily though, after many hours of tedious pursuit,
Weaving. Weaving.
James finally made a mistake.
Weaving.
Well, what was it? I'm tempted towards a mini pro tank.
Some people are saying definitely a T3, a CE4, a Kanga, definitely a Pro Tank. So basically we have no idea.
Well, it's about, because it's up on iPlayer obviously, and it's about 54 minutes into Sunday Night Guns Top Gear. So there's one that if you've got Sky Plus or other personal video recorders are available, if you've got that you can pull it down, have a look at it, get it onto your computers, cut that bit, and if anybody says nobody uses them, show them the hamster with his mini pro tank. That'd be worth doing.
Exactly, but on the plus side, as you said, it's definitely a Gen 2 device.
It's a Gen 2 device. It definitely is that. And the public attitude to these things now, I mean, you were saying last night, weren't you, on Team Talk, that you're seeing a lot more of e-cigs about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sarah, what are you seeing down in the smoke? Because I find it confusing down there. I don't look at people for fear they mug me.
I never ever see e-cigs in the wild down here.
Really?
No. Well, I don't live in London, so it may be different if you're in London, but certainly where I am, I've never seen another one other than at vape meets.
That's that, and you're in Essex, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where near where? Give everybody.
Well, I'm Billericay.
See, I thought Billericay was London.
Well, it's about 30 miles out of London.
So it's in London then.
Well, all these things are relative, I suppose, but
Well, everybody thinks I'm from Newcastle and I'm only 5 miles away from it, so...
Yeah, that's true. I'm just outside the M25, if you know where that is.
I do, I've been trapped on it many times.
Yeah, haven't we all?
So you don't see too many down your way?
No, and we've got hardly any shops. No, I don't. I think probably I think there's a shop about 5 miles from me, but it only sells cigarettes.
Is a demonstration of
Right.
Wirecast.
It's most interesting is this because where I am up here near Sunderland, and I'll stress near Sunderland, not near Newcastle. That's Sav. Sav's near Newcastle. I'm near Sunderland. When I went out the other day, I had to just go and run an errand. Actually, I had to pick a dog up. Don't ask. Been having a haircut. I've no idea why. We went and picked the dog up, and as I was driving past some council offices, this was Monday, you'll probably know, Tuesday, whenever, Wednesday. When was it? Anyway, whatever day it was, I was driving past the council offices, and there was a girl I used to know, choose my words wisely here, stood there with what was obviously a tab on, and you could hear it. Hey, I know, she's on the blower with the fag. Hey, I know, yeah, yes, she was telling us no, I didn't think we'll be doing that. Mind, have you seen him from over the road walking about with bugger all on, mind. And next to her, about 6 feet away from her, was a young lady who I've never met before, dressed in a two-piece. Do you call it a suit, a jacket and trousers that match in lady talk?
That'll do.
right? So she's got a suit on and a green drip tip going into what looked like an iClear 30S on top of one of your favourites, the iTest VV,
Demonstration
the square one?
Wirecast.
That one.
Yes, on top of one of it. Wasn't that colour though.
No.
It was like a bronzy colour.
Yes.
And she was stood there thoroughly enjoying it. She was. When I got into Sunderland on Saturday, after apparently Newcastle had beaten Sunderland had beaten Newcastle. I get confused, it's football, I don't understand it. And they were bouncing up and down, there was e-cigs all over the place, all sorts of different ones as well. Again, by the Beeb, with Catherine Devlin,
This is a demonstration of
which might
Wirecast.
explain a little bit of that. Let's play that in and see how that runs. It's interesting this, and I've got to say a big thank you to Sprotty for bringing me attention to it.
I don't give credit to electronic cigarette because you can still be addicted to them. I mean, I'm not a smoker, so I wouldn't know how I feel, but I think you can still be addicted to them even though there's not nicotine in it. So it's still, when you use it in a place like Westfield, there's still children around and young people that see it that don't
This
smoke,
is a
and
demonstration
some
of
of them
Wirecast.
look very attractive. They have different colors, different design on them, so these children may be attracted to them and they will see it like a positive thing to do.
Since I'm allergic to smoke, and so I probably wouldn't be using it.
But can you smell anything?
No, it's fine, and it doesn't offend me. Yeah, it looks okay. I think she can carry on with it.
You'd be
This is a demonstration of
Absolutely.
Wirecast.
I think anything that facilitates addiction around substances like caffeine, actually, even though I drink coffee, or nicotine, is bad. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't like it?
No. How do you feel puffing on that all day?
Well, it's definitely better than I felt when I smoked.
Okay, so I suppose that's positive.
Personally, I think it's okay because I'm a smoker, but I use one of those.
This is a
I've got one in the
demonstration
car
of
when I actually travel
Wirecast.
Yeah.
because I don't smoke in the car.
No. Well, what do you think when you see, because it's a little unusual, isn't it, to see it in an enclosed public space, perhaps?
It is. The thing is, I gave up 9 years ago smoking. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. And to be totally honest, it wouldn't affect me whatsoever. And I'm an ex-smoker, so good on ya.
And there you go. That was what happened in a shopping centre,
This is
which
a demonstration
I
of
think was
Wirecast.
Blue Water. Is that a shopping centre down your end?
Yeah, but if that was the bit of VT that I think it was, I think that was in the Westgate at Stratford.
Oh right. Well, that your neck of the woods, is it?
It is, yeah.
So they're not obviously used to seeing e-cigs down there then.
No.
So, and I know you couldn't hear very well, but you have seen that piece before.
Yeah, if it was the bit that she did in Westgate a month or so ago, I think it was.
Yeah, it'd be about that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that you've got one who was not a samosa. I'm sorry, I just misheard it. I had to watch it 3 or 4 times to realise she was saying samoka, or smoker. But she thought they were addictive even if they had no nicotine in, which I thought was rather strange, and she wasn't that keen on the colours. The guy in the middle who is allergic to smoke in London, surprised he's walking about at all, but he was okay, he was fine, didn't bother him at all. And then the last two who got the point, obviously, and liked to see them. But it's interesting that attitudes now, even since that was first aired, which was in November I believe, attitudes now seem to have changed. Certainly looking at all the different polls that you see on various different websites, very much the case, which is interesting in and of itself. I mean, when you were filming today, just give us a quick overview of what that was about, because I want to talk about it a little more perhaps in the third half as well. But what's the aim? First of all, when's it going out?
Saturday.
Okay.
It's BBC London News on Saturday, so it'll be on, I think, the lunchtime news and the news that's on around about 5 p.m.
Right.
And what it was about, basically, was about the bans in public places. People like, you know, pub chains banning them.
Right. So you'll have given them what for on that one, I would imagine.
Well, I think it's going to be quite a positive piece because the guy, the journalist, is a vapor.
No, that's isn't that handy? I like that. I like the fact that he's a vapor. Do tell me more.
Yeah. Well, it's a guy called John Weeble. His name is.
They wobble, but they don't.
Dim Weeble.
Yeah, they wobble, but they don't fall down. Yes.
Yeah. And he, when he spoke to me on the phone beforehand, he kept talking about smoking e-cigs, and I thought, oh, here we go, you know, back to basics. But when I actually met him there, he came straight out and said, I think they're great. I'm a vapor myself. He's not our sort of vapor. He uses a vape stick. Mm-hmm. You know, sort of a one up from a cig-like. Mm-hmm. And he was very positive about them, and you know, although we didn't get much chance, you know, they throw questions at you, and you don't really get any choice about what direction the conversation goes. Generally, it was positive.
Well, it sounds very good. I shall look forward to getting tuned into. I think actually now, if you again, somebody in chat will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure, but on the skyboxes now, if you get up into the high
900s,
you can find BBC whichever region.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
Yeah, and you can also pick which region on iPlayer, I think, as well.
Well, that's I'm pleased I didn't dream that. That's great. So 1 o'clock, I believe, and 5 o'clock. You say.
Round about 5, yeah.
Well, that'll be good to watch. Has chat got much to say about this, Sav?
Yeah, we've had quite a bit from chat. They started off talking about vapors in the wild, and Miles Dolphin has said they're common enough in Bournemouth, mostly Generation 2. Dick Puddlecoat says, I see people every day on the road especially. Tony H says, I'm in Barrow and Furness and I see loads around here. Andy Oakley said they're growing in Torquay, and Mark Shaw said he's seeing more and more in London. Blaze said he saw a guy with a mechanical mod outside Sainsbury's last week. Dan has said, never seen them in the wild in Kent where he's from, but I see a lot in Nottingham and Edinburgh where I've lived since started vaping. Lorraine has said, interesting that the BBC have pulled up the negative reactions when last year they were using the positive ones. A. Brewer said, you get, oh, these are one of my favourite words, you get the odd chukta numpty at college going, here, is that a hash pipe?
You get the odd what?
Chukta numpty, the Scots thing.
Hang on, just a minute. Chukta numpty.
Yeah, I call my brother-in-law that.
How is this spelled, please? It's a term I want to use.
It's spelled with a T. Teuchter.
Chukta.
Yes.
Chukta numpty. Hey.
I call my my sister's husband gets called that quite a lot.
Okay, back to you.
Yes, Heiko says ex-smokers seem to understand more than lifelong non-smokers. Surprise, surprise. Reptile Keeper said the only thing anyone has said to me was being told real men smoke, not use those things, by a group of teeny girls outside his local shops.
So he wasn't on a promise that night then.
No, and A. Brewer said, I get stick from smokers and I'm beginning to get sick of it.
Well, didn't get sick, get even. Get a 134, get 2 of them. Get a silver and a black one. And chuck one, right, whack it up to full chat, stick some 54 in the next time somebody says you're not a real man. And make it pure PG with a touch of Diablo Loco. And say, there you are, son, drag that down your neck and see who's the bigger man. I would. But then, I'm a thick macker. What can I tell you? Actually, there was a fair few folks on Saturday when I was out in Sunderland had a try of this setup, which is of scrape variety. It had some 54 in, and I was running it at 15 watts. And it was nice. It put a lot of vapour away. And 1 or 2. Actually, I found the ladies. Oh, I've got to be so careful how I put this. The ladies managed it a lot better than the men, which was not what I was expecting. Did I? Have I got away with that?
Just about, yes.
Probably just as well, and it's probably the best point to take the adverts that we possibly can. So here are our third birthday adverts. They're very, very special because we'll not be talking over them. Back in 2 minutes. iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv. And we're back in the room. Now, if you're on Twitter, and if you're not, you should be, you will have noticed that at some time earlier today, probably around about 11:45, 12 o'clock, I tweeted that I would be talking to Clive Bates tonight on the show. Did you see that, Sarah?
I did.
You retweeted it, I saw.
I did.
She's good. She's a proper little retweeter, aren't you, Pet?
Yeah. Sometimes I can't think of anything to say.
Yeah, I get like that. You go on already and fired up to say something, and then you find that 5 other people have, so you just retweet them.
Yeah.
Saves wearing my fingers out because I've got very delicate fingers. No, Clive is on the show tonight. I spoke to him earlier, and you will hear him say
that pressure is important as well. You can never say enough to your MP, to ministers, to MEPs, to commission officials, and you just have to be relentless.
That's what you're going to hear him say. We spent 20 odd minutes having a natter this morning, so here's what we had to say, and please listen carefully. The man is good and his advice is sound. So I'm here with Clive Bates at an unearthly hour in the morning. Clive, what's the situation currently? Where do we stand? What's happening with the commission, the directive? What's the situation?
Small question then, Dave.
Just a little one, yes.
Well, basically, we've got the text that was agreed at the end of December, and that was then rubber stamped uncritically by the Envy Committee, is now heading for the European Parliament plenary, which we think will be at the end of February rather than the middle of March, as had been previously assumed. It looks like they're trying to get it sort of done and dusted as quickly as possible. As you and your viewers will know, the text is full of things that are basically ridiculous, like the limit on nicotine strengths, like the limit on container size, the ridiculous thing where you can have flavours but you can't actually say what they are on the packaging. Then there's things that are completely excessive, like the advertising ban. I mean, they justified banning tobacco advertising because tobacco, smoking more specifically, kills you know, over 500,000 people in Europe every year. You can't say that for e-cigarettes. In fact, actually saves lives. So that's an absurdity. Absurdly large and bold warnings, which I think when people see the mock-ups will realise that that's way over the top. And then all sorts of strange technical things about leak-proof filling and so on. And the directive is, frankly, a mess. And it's a mess because there's not been any consultation with users, with the businesses involved, with the expert community. It's all been dreamt up behind closed doors, and they're not supposed to do that. So that's the situation. There's a very high chance that the plenary will rubber stamp it. In order for them not to rubber stamp it, a couple of things have to happen. First of all, it has to be possible to vote against the Article 18 or some parts of it. It looks as though it's impossible to amend it at this stage because it's been rubber stamped by the committee. So amendments are off the table. We're in the situation where we just have yes or no votes on specific parts of the directive. But even to get to that, the President of the European Parliament has to agree to it. He has to, Mrs. Martin Schulz, he has to say, right, I will allow split and separate voting on this directive, which he is going to be, I think, quite hard to, it's going to be quite hard to persuade him to do that. So that's the first hurdle, is to get split or separate votes allowed. Then the second hurdle is to get a majority of MEPs to vote against it. Otherwise, the text goes through pretty well unamended.
Yeah, so what do we then, as users, what do we need to be doing? What courses of action do we need to take?
There is one thing only that is worth doing, and that is just to be absolutely relentless. Relentless. You can write to the President of the European Parliament, Martin Schulz. You can write to the leaders of the main political groups. Those are the people who will be deciding whether the split and separate voting is allowed in the first place. And then we've just got to fill the email inboxes and letter in trays of all the MEPs. Frankly, they've got to feel the weight of feeling that there is about this, and the numbers that are involved.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay, so we need to email them. I did see this morning actually that there was talk about a Twitter bomb. Is that likely to be of use?
Well, mixed feelings about Twitter. I mean, the danger with Twitter, and I think quite a lot of this goes on, is that everybody sort of talks to the already converted. I think Twitter, you know, obviously everything is additional and beneficial, but it has to count. So we need to start getting tweets into the timelines of MEPs. We need to get tweets that reach, you know, Martin Schulz and people like that. We need tweets that mobilise action and extend the reach of people who are doing things. To me, a few tweets don't count for anything like as much as a good, authentic, well-argued letter or email into an MEP, asking for a reply, being quietly assertive about what the right thing to do is. That's where things really hit home. And we've seen this with Linda McAvan. She must have had, you know, 500,000 tweets in her timeline. It hasn't budged her one little bit. I'm not sure anything would budge her, but putting in well-argued letters, I think, is the best use of time. And using Twitter to expand the net of people who are doing that and to communicate directly with MEPs is a really good idea.
Okay. What about in the UK? Is there anything we can do from the point of view of our, well, not just the UK, but member states, for our national parliaments? Is there anything that we can achieve there?
Again, we should never, ever give up. The council has to agree to this position. Unfortunately, the European Scrutiny Committee cleared the directive text from scrutiny earlier in January, I think, when, well, I certainly wasn't paying attention. So that line of attack has gone now, effectively. Which is a shame. And you know, I'm amazed that they dealt with this so uncritically, given all the flaws that there are in the directive and all the flaws in the process. But nevertheless, that seems to be what happened. However, it does make sense to keep the pressure on. The council still has to agree, which means the British government still has to agree. You know, if we were fortunate enough to get a change in the European Parliament, we'd need the right reaction to that from the British government. It is always advantageous, because what happens from here on in will be very much in the gift of the British government in the UK. What happens here on in will depend on how the government views this. And it's changed its mind a lot over the last 12 months. It's no longer really backing medicines regulation to the extent it once was. So that pressure is important as well. You can never say enough to your MP, to ministers, to MEPs, to commission officials, and you just have to be relentless.
Right, so the bottom line on it is then that we just need to keep banging away, doing what we've been doing, only more so, multiplying this up exponentially.
I mean, I know why, and I'm frustrated and kind of tired of it myself. But you know, they do appear unresponsive. But that's what political systems are like. You have to hammer and hammer and hammer to make a dent in them. And if you look at the change that has happened since. Well, really, since the MHRA started declaring it would be regulated as a medicine, look at the improvement in understanding. Look at the allies who have been created. Look at the greater insight that there now is in the political and even the official classes. It is all working. It just doesn't lead to especially dramatic changes. Although we had a dramatic change in October last year in the European Parliament. So it is working. It just feels frustrating. It feels like a hard uphill struggle. No politician will end up and say, oh, I had a letter from Dave Dawn and that changed my mind. They never give you credit like that.
No.
Just mean it hasn't changed their mind.
Indeed, indeed. Right, I'm going to put my pessimist hat on now and say, if this isn't successful, if we don't get through what we would like to get through, if the split vote doesn't happen,
this is a demonstration.
Does that mean we let the pressure up? Is there in all of this kind of a review in 2 years' time where we might get changes made?
The moment they agree it's ridiculous text, that's the moment we start calling for new legislation. I mean, it is. I mean, first of all, there's a political track here. Even the most stupid member states, and there are many of them, will start to feel outmaneuvered by evidence eventually. I mean, we've already seen some very interesting new studies coming out that suggest that e-cigarettes really are effective out in the wild, not in clinical trials, not in, you know, stop smoking services, not anywhere, but out in the marketplace, as you would expect. Now that is unassailable evidence. We've also seen the diehards like British Medical Association shuffling their feet. If you listen carefully to what the previously avowed opponents of e-cigarettes have been saying, not all of them, but some of them, they are shifting their position. They're softening their line. Their collision with reality is proving too brutal for them, so they're coming on side gradually. And the more of that, the more time that goes on, the more people will look at this directive and think, well, that is just, you know, a crock of shit, frankly. It's actually, you know, so badly designed, we would actually quite like a new, you know, a new set of proposals. There's nothing to stop the next commission introducing a new set of proposals. You know, so the other thing that might happen is legal challenges. You know, I would argue that most of the things that we dislike in the directive fall foul of European law. The reason is, for there to be any interruption in the free movement of principle of the free movement of goods, any sort of departure from that, and that's what a lot of the directive does, it departs from the principle of free movement of goods, there has to be an argument that it's creating a high level of health protection. Well, if it isn't creating a high level of health protection, in fact, it's protecting the cigarette industry and making it harder for people to switch from smoking, then it isn't lawful in EU law. End of. So the question is whether anybody wants to have a go and say, you know, this is up for challenge. You know, things like the advertising ban, clearly disproportionate. You can't just ban advertising without a reason. You know, you can't ban it for, you know, the silly reasons that Gerard Hastings says, that it's all attractive. Of course it's attractive. It's intended to be attractive.
It's advertising.
It's advertising. Wake up. You know, they're not selling athletes that everybody will just, I mean, maybe one could be very cynical about the European Parliament and just assume that they'll trudge through the lobbies, say, well, that's the best we can do. Sorry, everyone. But you don't know how the dynamic will actually take off. You know, whether someone will get it in their heads that actually we do, you know, there is an election coming up and we do look like idiots. Why do that? So I wouldn't rule it out. You can't really rule it out until you've seen how it you know, all the dominoes fall. I mean, it's perfectly possible that Schultz will say no to a split and split and separate vote, in which case you'd have to ask people to vote against the entire TPD, and none of them will do that. It's hardly even worth asking, because then they would just say, oh, well, you're just a tool of the tobacco industry trying to get the whole thing stopped. So it's never been good to try, even though a lot of the rest of the directive is pretty stupid as well. It's never been a good tactic to try to go after that at the same time. So I don't know. I wouldn't give up. And the other thing I think, Dave, is that I think these people have made all these decisions. They need to feel it. They need to know that this isn't something that they can get a pat on the back for, or nobody really bothered and there was just a bit of artificial fuss. That's good for government, really, that they feel that when they press that button, they're doing something that has been pointed out to them over and over again is a stupid and wrong thing to do. And it might cause them to question how they go about their business in future.
Indeed, indeed, it's a very valid point. One final thing before I let you go. The World Health Organization apparently is looking to make any nicotine derived from tobacco a tobacco product. Yeah. And I know we were talking about this on Twitter with Lex Specialis and various other things. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I mean, it's a rogue organisation there. I mean, I call it now sort of Geneva-based death cult, because I think they're basically stopped being interested. I mean, they're going on endlessly about 1 billion deaths from tobacco in the 21st century. Most organisations would regard that as a monumental failure if the thing that they were basically responsible for in the international system led to 1 billion deaths. They don't see, and they seem to have a singular vision of what counts as good tobacco control measures, and it's all coercion, prohibition, intrusion. It's all very punitive on the users, and they haven't grasped this idea that you can get all of those measures are actually more effective, whether you like them or not. They're more effective if you give somewhere for people to go. And this is the ridiculous thing, saying to people, change, and then the only thing you can offer them is complete quitting smoking, quitting nicotine, quitting smokeless, leaving them with missing nicotine, missing the experience, with cravings, withdrawal symptoms and all the rest of it, and somehow expect that to work. So at a very deep level, I just don't think they understand what they're doing. So tactically, they don't like these developments. They don't like smokeless tobacco. They don't like e-cigarettes or recreational nicotine products. So, like the Americans, they're looking at classifying these things as tobacco. I mean, this is what's going to happen with the FDA as well. They're counting e-cigs as nicotine, as tobacco products. You know, the trouble is, then all the restrictions and all the things that have been done to tobacco suddenly apply to e-cigarettes. Suddenly, if e-cigarettes are tobacco, or, you know, e-cigarettes are tobacco products, then the people who sell them are the tobacco industry. you know, if you're even if you're e-lights or Enjoy and you've never been anything to do with the tobacco industry, you're suddenly counted as the tobacco industry for the point of view of access to officials, your role in developing regulation. You get all of those exclusions. They said that the provisions relating to second-hand smoke would apply. Ridiculous. And that all the restrictions on advertising could be applied as well. And, you know, that is so counterproductive. It's such a damaging thing to do. But that is where they're at. That is what they're doing. And they've got a programme of stuff leading up to that this year. They've commissioned research from Stan Glantz, of all people.
God.
I know. They've asked him to give them advice on e-cigarettes. They've gone to the most hostile person in the world, and probably the craziest when it comes to science and evidence, and they've asked him for advice on the science of e-cigarettes. Okay, they haven't gone to Farsalinos, Pelosa, Lynn Dawkins, or any of the people who actually know about it. They've gone to him. They've done a similar thing on smokeless tobacco. They've gone to the National Cancer Institute just to prove that there is smokeless tobacco somewhere that causes cancer. Again, it's all building up to a very hostile outcome in Moscow in October this year, which is the next conference of the parties of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control.
Yes, it's that's an event that I've got to say I'm not particularly looking forward to, and I think
however frustrated, however unresponsive they are, believe me, the system does respond, just not in a way that visibly attributes its changes to you personally. So just keep at it. That's my message. It's not over until it's over, and even when it's over in the EU, it's not over. There's the WHO, there's the British government, there's the implementation, there's millions of local authorities, there's all the transport providers, public space operators and everything. You've just got to keep, if you want it, you're going to have to fight for it.
Clive Bates, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Of Wirecast.
And we're back in the room. That was Clive talking to me earlier today. He couldn't make tonight because he's out working on this, even as we speak, creating allies and making more friends. Brilliant bloke. Sav, what's Chat had to say?
Chat have had an awful lot to say. I'm just going to rattle through as much as I've got as quickly as I can.
Actually, before you do, I've just remembered what you said I had to do, and I'm sorry. We do understand that there have been some issues with the stream tonight. I can tell you 100% it's not coming from here. It's something to do with the weather, our service provider, and it doesn't seem to be for everybody. We're looking into it. The back team boys are busily scrabbling about like whatever, trying to get it sorted. We will fix what we can when we can. If there's been bits you've missed, please do catch it on video on demand. Sorry, Sav,
Perfect.
I get wrong if I don't do it.
You do, yes.
Of both you and your mum, and that would just not be good.
No, definitely not. Right, I'll start with what Steffi has said. She says, Mrs. Sumner has confirmed the 26th of February today, and it says no debate, just vote.
Yep.
Whip It Up says, the whole bloody thing is absurd. Mark Shaw says it's a mess because idiots wrote it. Leanna Lawless says it's insane and technically impossible. Lauren has said, lady from the Ombudsman on Twitter earlier showing interest in all this.
That's good.
Whip It Up has said, if they are not supposed to do it, how the hell can it be legal? Mark Shaw has said, they could consult for a decade and still come up with a load of codswallop. Whip It Up says, I've emailed Martin Schultz, not expecting much though. Lorian has said, I doubt anyone will get a reply, but the number of mails they will get will have an impact.
Indeed, flood them.
Yeah. Andy Oakley says, nobody can ignore a continuously full inbox. Dick Puddlecoat says, need to use the correct hashtag. They get noticed if using hashtag EU. Slim UKV has said, we should fax him. Can't ignore a bloody big pile of paper on the floor, and fax numbers are listed on the EU website.
Oh, that's clever and devious.
Isn't it? I love that.
There are apps for doing that, are there not?
Yeah, you can send them for online, you can do all sorts.
Right, there you go folks. Find out how to do it and fax them. Oh, I nearly said something I shouldn't.
You did.
Back to you, Sav.
Vapor Keeper has said, that's the one thing we have stacking up relentlessly on our side. Evidence. Lena Maria has said, I never wanted kids, but I'd consider having Clives.
I could be upset by it. I could be well upset by that, you know.
I think there's a queue as well, so I'm not sure who was first in the queue, but
I just don't want the sloppy seconds.
Entry72 said the fight won't begin until the ban actually takes place and 2 million new vapers who can't buy tanks suddenly realise the EU has screwed them over.
Yes.
Liam D. Vapor says, interesting to see Clive's views on the health folks slowly backing down. Whip It Up said, again, if it falls foul of the law, how can it be made law?
Because I'll dive in. I'm sorry. I've been told by a number of people in Brussels that quite frequently they are told you can't do that. It's not legal, and they'll just say, "Well, look, we'll do it," and then if there's a court battle, we'll know we've done it wrong. If they don't take us to court, then obviously they accept it. That's why.
Excellent. Sorry. Quickly, can I just say, VB, the private message you sent me, can you please send it to Kat, because I accidentally closed it on the screen, sorry. Where was I? Yeah. Lorian has said regarding the adverts, well, 2 ads have been banned this week for being similar to NHS adverts. Dan has said the long-term evidence will heap up over the next year or so. The medical professionals will start listening to the real scientists and the research for cancer research and so on, and hopefully we will crush big tobacco pharma lobbying. The whole thing is ridiculous. Vaping has drastically changed my life and many, many others for the better. It will be a sad day if this irresponsible bull goes through. This entire issue is political and commercial. There is absolutely no health considerations whatsoever. Makes me sick.
He speaks the truth.
He certainly does. Becky has said, Dear EU, 1984 was a warning, not a bloody instruction manual. And Mark Shaw has said, reading Chris Davis' letter today, the biggest concern about e-cigs is it's going to a second reading and the TPD going over to the next parliament, not what it would mean for the future of e-cigs.
Do you know, that's such an annoying thing, and it is so right. That does appear to be the biggest concern that they have, that it's going to delay the TPD. And quite frankly, I couldn't give a monkeys, because as far as I'm concerned, the tobacco provisions in the TPD will have the square root of bugger all effect anyway. And what they're passing up here is the opportunity by choice for people to choose what I think everybody agrees is a less risky option. Please note the form of words that I'm using. A much less risky option and alternative to the smoking of lit tobacco. Even lifelong smokers are aware of that, and they're not against e-cigs. They're very supportive of e-cigs. They just choose not to use them, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. What do you think of that, Sarah?
Well, can I just say about Clive Bates, first of all? He's an absolute inspiration. The man doesn't vape himself. and look at the energy he puts into our cause. You know, every time I see Clive or I read his website, it gives me the inspiration to carry on. Because I just think if he can put that amount of energy into it, then, you know, I can too. And he needs our support. You know, he's just a voice on his own if we don't back him up and send those emails.
You are so right in what you say.
You know, I mean, I sent mine to Martin Schulz as soon as it was called for, which was actually before Clive wrote his letter, and of course mine was very short and nowhere near as good as Clive's. But, you know, it's numbers. If people see that Clive's got that support, you know, we might get somewhere, but he can't do it without us, and I'm starting to think, well, I've thought for a long time that we can't do it without him. We are so lucky to have him.
He has been instrumental, he and Jerry Stimson, between them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention Paddy Costall. That's me getting a foot up my backside the next time we meet, but it's true. Those three blokes, Paddy Costall, Jerry Stimson, Clive Bates, between them, have brought an awful lot of people together, have done an awful lot of work that the bulk of the vapers out there don't know about and probably will never know about. There are some of us that do know what's been going on behind the scenes, and we've not been able to share the stuff we know now that we can't share, because it's so important that it's kept confidential, shall we say. And Clive and Jerry and Paddy are at the centre of all of that. They are gurus as far as I'm concerned. If I get a phone call from any one of them saying, Dave, can you be at? I'm there like a shot. Gob on a stick, mouth for rent. I've got no credentials whatever that would make anybody in government listen, but apparently, gob on a stick. If they say, Dave, we need you to do this, I'm there like a shot. And Clive is saying it now. I too have emailed Martin Schulz. I've also emailed all of the leaders of the various different political groups. And the next batch, 750 odd, I've got no idea how long it's going to take to go out, but every MEP's getting one as well. And I would exhort you to do likewise. Be relentless and know it's not an energy drink, Sav. Has chat got anything to add?
Yeah, Vapor Keeper has said, just take this out of the TPD and put the TPD through at full steam. That makes no sense. V-Power has said, but a split vote won't delay the TPD. It's the best of both worlds. We need the split vote. Mark Shaw says, but they're only terrified for political reasons, and it's personal political reasons, not for the party nor the public. Totally selfish. Ridian Man says, they have a choice to screw us over. We have a choice to vape. If they don't like it, we have the choice not to vote for them. An old chemist has said, do you think we should start faxing them now, or rather wait until the last few days? And Andy Oakley's pointed out that Clive has a great example letter on his site to just reword it if you're not sure what do you want to say to these people.
Yeah, right, faxing, start it. The elephant's toilet roll that's in there is about £5 a roll, isn't it, Sarah?
Something like that.
If you can cost every office 30 or 40 quid with faxes, go for it. Go for it. Christ above, they spend enough money doing God knows what to act against our best interests. Let's make them spend some money because of our best interests, because we want to be a pain in the backside, politely. With respect to Clive's letter, if I can find it, I've got mine here somewhere. I'm going to show you mine, and you'll see how big it is. And yes, I know I am a gob on a stick and stuff like that. But here it is. There you go. That's how long it is. And it's very, very simple. It simply says, I write to you in great concern that the forthcoming plenary vote on the Tobacco Products Directive will result in doing more harm than good. I refer specifically to Article 18 dealing with electronic cigarettes. That sets the scene. I would urge you to allow and support split and or separate votes on Article 18 at the European Parliament's first reading. I also hope you will lead by example by voting against Article 18 so that better regulation for e-cigarettes can be developed while the rest of the Tobacco Products Directive can proceed to a conclusion. As the current text stands, everything I use would be rendered illegal. And as a one-time smoker of 60 cigarettes a day, I can tell you now that a nicotine concentration of 20 milligrams per milliliter simply will not work for me. I use concentrations of between 36 and 50 milligrams per milliliter with no ill effects and no danger of overdose. Similarly, a refillable cartomizer size of 2 millilitres would require me to be constantly filling. In other words, and to keep this brief, the current text condemns me to either purchase on the black market or return to smoking lit tobacco. Nicotine abstinence is not an option for me. Please act on my behalf and ensure that proportionate regulation is negotiated properly, in public, with expert guidance and without rush. Thank you, David Dawn. That's what I've sent. It doesn't need to be technical. It doesn't need to go through all the whys and wherefores. You don't need to know the nature of the fart and what caused it and where it came from. That doesn't need to be in there. Your feelings do. Write your own email, get it sent off. The links are on Clive's blog, so you can pick up exactly the same as I did, and there are links to all of the EU parliamentarians there as well. Get in touch with everybody you can. Tomorrow, for instance, at 3:30, I will be meeting with my MP. Keith's coming with me. I'm going to plant an 82-page document in front of her, the one I tweeted earlier on about nicotine that has come from the American ACSH. I can never see it. It's that time of night, right? So I'm printing that out, and I'm going to take that down and smack it down on the desk in front of her and say, there you go, you need to read that. That'll give you all the ammunition you need to fight on my behalf. We need to step this up now. We need to make our voices heard. We need to get out there and get these people told. We need them to know what we want to happen. There should be nothing about us without us. That's the rallying cry, if there needs to be one. Sarah?
Absolutely, absolutely. Get ranty but polite. Make your feelings known. It's all we can do, and it's so important that everybody does it.
Absolutely right. Sav, what we got from chat?
Chat again. There's a lot of people saying they want to get ideas from letters that have already been written, but make sure you put all that into your own words and things like that. They're all very, very positive about doing this, and they loved your letter. And Slim UK wants to know, did you end it with love and kisses?
No, I'd have stuck some ricin in it if I'd had half a chance, if you could have done that electronically.
As DK said, these people know their arseholes, no need to mention it in your letters.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it would be so easy to get really ranty and really abusive, because I have to say that over the last 12 months there are times when I've felt that they've abused me personally, and not just me but every vape, and not just in the UK but EU wide, and not just EU wide but worldwide too. We seem to be coming in for abuse from all kinds of people. Thankfully, as Clive said, over the period of the last 12 months we have seen more and more skittles fall in our direction. People who at first said it has to be meds are now going, it definitely shouldn't be meds. It's a daft idea, and it's great that that's happening. We need a little more time. This fight is not over. We've got the fights to fight, like with Stoke City Council, with their idiotic ban on vaping on council property. Those are fights that we need to be fighting. There are all kinds of fights that are going to be going on. Nigel Farage, who apparently we are friends of, Sav.
Apparently so, yes.
Yes, Sav and I are the two people that he keeps talking about, apparently. But he said, and this was very wise, he said, listen, Dave, said, if we do win this one, if this one does get put to bed, they won't stop. They'll keep coming, and they'll keep on coming until they realise there's no way they're going to get their own way. He said, but you'll not stop fighting for a long time yet, and I'm here to tell you, I'm in it for the long run. There is no way on the face of this planet am I going to back down and let these plonkers have their own way with my life, with your life, and with everybody else's life. Like I've said before, from my cold, dead hands, it's the only way they're going to take this off me. Sav, I'm going to throw it across to chat for the last word.
Well, I'm going to steal the last word from chat for once, because one of the teams asked me, can we remember about the Nikki Sinclair Brussels meet as well? If you can do it, please, 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 please do so.
Yes.
And that's the 4th and 5th, isn't it?
It is, yes, it is indeed the 4th and 5th. I've got it down on my list of things to mention, and sorry,
we ran out of time.
I got a little bit carried away. Please contact Nikki Sinclair. The links are all over Twitter. They're on our. They're everywhere.
Just put the link into chat.
There you go. Please contact Nikki if you can get those 2 days to go to Brussels. Please, please, please do go there. Make your voices heard. Sav and I are going to stay here and hold the fort. They're sick of the sight of me over there, and they know what I think, and I'll be talking to them anyway. But we also have shows to put out. We're sending 2 members of the team, Dave, the 2 Daves, Davey and Dave. If your name's Dave, go with Nikki Sinclair.
Definitely, all the Daves should go apart from that Dave.
Yes, or everybody. If you can go, please go. I would love it to be the case where Nikki's got to say sorry, can't get you in. If you can get the time to do it, please, please, please do it. Please do it. Right, Sav. Back to the last word.
I've lost my last word, but I think the last word has got to go tonight. It's been 3 years we've been doing this, and without every single one of those people in chat, what's the point? They're all just awesome, and we love every second of doing this for you guys. It's just brilliant.
I'm going to echo that. You're starting to fill up there, aren't you?
Yeah, I love my chat.
I've got to say, it's been 3 fabulous years. It really, really has. And I'm looking forward to the next 3 and the 3 after that and the 33 after that as well. And Sav is so right in what she says. Without you tuning in, it just wouldn't be worthwhile. We do this for you. We do it because we enjoy it. I do it because I'm a media whore, and I get to meet people like Sarah and Sav and the rest of the team and everybody else that I meet. But thank you so much for joining us for the last 3 years, and I look forward to seeing you for the next 3 years. And Sarah, I look forward to seeing you the next time I see you, and thank you so much for coming to join us tonight.
My pleasure, especially on your 3-year anniversary. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing BBC London on Saturday at 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Who now? Did you speak very poshly?
No, yeah. I'm not very good at that.
Okay, we know Johnny didn't. So it's a big thank you to Sarah for coming to join us, and a big, massive big thank you to Sav, my partner in crime, without whom I just couldn't do this. I know I've told you before, but I'm going to tell you it publicly. When Skype went out last week, I panicked. I was touching cloth. That's how good it was. That's how much Sav means on this show. She's amazing, and that applies to the rest of the team as well, because without the team, this last 3 years would never have happened.
No, the team are awesome.
They are. It's been an absolutely fabulous time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. And now more than ever, vape on, vape hard, and don't let the bastards grind you down. Till the next time we see you, take care of one another and email the buggers, will you?